Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome back to this week's Priestess transmission, Priestess Rise Up. This is episode 36. I decided to number number these because it makes it easier to reference back to them. I noticed that, people would ask me about certain ones and I would try to be like the one where I'm wearing pink, which is not a good way to do it. So we went back and numbered all the episodes, added a number in each episode. So today is episode 36. Of course, there's way more than that videos on my channel, but this is the 36th specific Priestess Rise Up transmission. So thank you, all of you who are here, all of you who are watching the replay. And if you're new to my work, my name is Lisa Espinosa, and I am a spiritual career coach. And I'm really a coach for those called to the priestess path, whether you call it priestessing or wellness professional or healer or light worker or whatever label you use is fine. And so the reason we gather together is to remember our sacred mission, right? To remember why we're here and to step into a beautiful temple space, an alchemical space. So, what does that mean? A healing alchemical space. Alchemy is really the mystical science, right? Of transmuting, often it's said lead into gold, but really transmuting heaviness into openness, confusion into clarity, hatred, often directed at ourselves, into love, right? All of those transformations. So, my intention is always to create that space for everybody here. And today, as I was preparing, um, I just so you don't get distracted, I know I have like a blister on my lip. I've been working on healing it since last Friday, but the show must go on. So it is there. I am fine, but just in case, because I know sometimes people afterwards are like asking. But today, as I was preparing, I just posted something on Instagram. It's a picture of me lying kind of in bed, sitting with my laptop. And I was sharing how I'm doing the final stages of writing my book. Hello, Destiny. Hello, Roxana. And, many of you know, I've been writing my second book, Priestess Rise Up, for some time now. And as I've entered these next kind of final stages, my soul guided me to do it in bed. And I shared in my Instagram feed how I was really kind of annoyed, surprised, resistant to this because I thought I have an office. I have a beautiful office, and it seemed like that's where I should be writing my book. And I have written a lot of it there. I've also written it before I had my office. I would work in a dining room. But Mother Mary, and some of you heard this message that came maybe like I don't remember, a month ago. It was probably longer than that. Time kind of goes so fast. But anyway, what she said to me, and it was as I was writing, it was the priestesses have suffered enough. And the reason this message came forth is there's many reasons, but one was because I was struggling with my writing and struggling in the sense that I was having a lot of self-doubt. I was like, do I put this story or do I put that story? Is my personal story important to this? Should I bring this teaching? I was basically creating a lot of suffering for myself with my thoughts. Isn't that interesting, right? That we hurt ourselves with our own thinking, right? So my own thoughts of like, why am I not done with my book yet? Why is this taking so long? Why am I not a faster writer? On and on and on. And I was creating suffering for myself with these thoughts. And then Mother Mary comes, as all ascended masters do, with this kind of lightning wisdom of like, the priestesses have suffered enough. And that really paused me, and I listened because that felt true to me. Like, yeah, we have suffered enough. We've suffered so much in other lifetimes, in this lifetime, in different ways. And let me back up a little bit. When I use the word priestess, for those of you who are new to my work, hey, Sharon, I'm talking about really the calling to lead through unconditional love, to channel unconditional love, to, those of us who are called to commit to that courageous path. It doesn't mean that we are always unconditionally loving. That's why it's a courageous path, because we are human and we have a human ego and we have judgments of ourselves and others and all of that stuff. So when we take the radical act, the radical position of saying, wait, I'm being called to this path of remembering my divinity, of remembering that I actually can tune into that energy of unconditional love and extend it to myself and others. That is a courageous, radical act. And that's what I call the priestess path. It chose me, right? It chose me. And so when Mother Mary said the priestesses have suffered enough, it was both a collective message. Let me drink a little water. Hold on. It was both a collective message, like the collective, right? The priestesses, everyone have suffered enough, right? There's been persecutions, there's been demonizing of the priestess path, dismissing of the priest, this kind of dismissive, judgmental, all of those things that cause suffering. But also, not to mention religious dogma and all of the things, we can go on and on. And she was also talking about the suffering we self-impose. So that in that moment when I was judging myself for not being further ahead, that's such a common judgment, right? So I know I'm talking about writing my book, but you can fill in the blank for anything in your life where you have had self-judgment, or perhaps have it now because you're thinking, I should be way ahead. I should have more clients, or I should have more students, or I should be making more money by now, or my body should feel better by now, or whatever it is. So Mother Mary, when she said that the priestesses have suffered enough, she was also saying enough. Like, we've also suffered enough through our own thinking, through our own self-judgment and our own self-criticism. And furthermore, she went on to tell me, she said, your book, meaning my book that I'm writing, which is called Priestess Rise Up, by the way, if you don't know, she said it's meant to carry the energy of the beauty way, which is the opposite of suffering, which is the opposite of growing through suffering, being initiated through suffering. I've had a lot of that. I'm sure you have as well. We've been initiated through suffering, through loss. And I've learned many, many valuable lessons through those initiations. And yet, we are here birthing a new earth, right? We are here to anchor heaven on earth. We are here to birth a new paradigm of unity consciousness, of compassion. And we can't do it through suffering. It's just not going to happen through suffering. So those of us who are here at this time, we've been commissioned with the very courageous, noble mission of having experienced being initiated. And what does that mean, being initiated? An initiation is an experience that you have that takes you from one level of understanding to another. And when we talk about a spiritual initiation, it's an experience you've had, often challenging, as I was just saying, that brings you from one level of understanding, and often it brings you from one level of compassion to a whole other level of compassion. And that is a journey that can take years, right? I'm not saying it happens immediately. It doesn't. And so I have had many experiences like that in my life. You have as well. Think of all the initiations you've gone through in your life. You're probably going through one right now. We are constantly being initiated, especially in these accelerated times. And so we have had the experience of being initiated through suffering. But now we're here, we have the commission of we experienced that, so we know what that's like. We understand what it's like. We went through the training of it. If we, we seeked out support, maybe we had therapists or healers that helped us along the way. We did all the things. And I'm not saying now we're done and we never suffer again, but I'm just saying we've done a lot of the work. And so now we can support others as they go through their initiations of suffering because we've walked that path. But it doesn't stop there. Now we're like the bridge. We're also anchoring in, oh, wait, is it possible to be initiated through joy, through beauty? Is suffering required? And the answer is no. But we're learning that. And so we're like the bridge. We're in this place of like, we're not there. We're ready to step out of like needing to grow and heal and learn and birth through suffering. But we're not totally anchored in the beauty way either. And so when Mother Mary said to me, the priestesses have suffered enough, your book cannot be birthed through suffering. I heard that and I literally understood that she was saying, there's no way I'm going to finish writing this book ever if I just keep beating myself up, if I create suffering, because what will happen then? My book will carry in its DNA. I want you to think of a book and you think of your creative project, whatever you're birthing. Maybe it's a book as well, or maybe it's a new healing modality, or maybe it's a new way of being with your clients and students, or maybe it's a new home you're looking for, whatever it is you're birthing. It has its own soul, its own DNA. And however you are in the process of birthing it is what it's going to carry. So Mother Mary was saying, this book you're birthing is not meant to carry suffering in it. Yes, I'm going to share stories. There are stories that I share in there where I suffered, where it was a challenging initiation. And of course, I'm writing it in a very mindful way. So it's not to say that I'm going to have just all these joyful, positive stories in there. No, it's authentic. But she said the process now that I'm in, the stage that I'm in birthing this book, she's like, it can't be done through suffering. This is meant to be part of the creations, not the only one. We're all co-creating this together that is anchoring in the beauty way of birthing, the beauty way of being initiated. And so I'm sharing this with you because if you're watching this, whether you're here live or you're watching the replay, whether you watch the replay tomorrow or 5 years from now, you were led to hear this message to understand that, oh, you have probably suffered and there's no shame in that. It's like, how amazing that we all agreed to this, right? That we came into this world to be, as one of my teachers says, to the boots on the ground of this spiritual spiritual awakening, that we would agree to be in this physical body that feels so limited, that we would agree to have an ego structure that is a focus on the external all the time. So we agreed to that. Think about that. Like we agreed to come in as divine beings, put on a physical body, put on an ego structure, and with those things that feel very limiting, remember our divinity. And not only that, we're remembering our divinity, but we're doing it for the collective, not just for our own, like, okay, I just want to become enlightened and leave this planet. Now, I have moments like that where I think those things. But ultimately, I always come back to service, that I know that I've always known since I was a child. I mean, I didn't say I'm going to be a priestess when I grow up because I didn't have that in my consciousness as a little girl. But I knew I wanted to be a teacher or a doctor. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to heal people. Like, since I was little, I just had that prayer in my heart. And so, however it showed up for you, we're here doing this as a reminder for others as well. So when we step into ceremony, in the ceremonial space in a few moments, we're really going to step into that question, right? Of what is it Well, it's two things I'm seeing. There's the honoring of any chapter of your life, whether it's current, whether it's in the recent past, whether it happened 20 years ago or two lifetimes ago, whatever it is. Any chapter of your life where that's coming up, right? That where you suffered. And perhaps in the ceremonial space, when I do the inner journey, it'll come up to your awareness. So we're going to bring great honoring and great compassion, great witnessing to that. It's really important to understand when we're on this path that this isn't in any way dismissing or belittling or judging the suffering we have experienced. So most likely that will come up like, oh, remembering those moments, those times. Like I can remember, and this isn't by any means the most suffering. I mean, there's many other things that I've suffered through, but when I birthed my first book, I've shared this story before. It was quite a suffering journey. I mean, there were moments of joy, but it was definitely a lot of suffering of, coming through self-criticism. And throughout the whole journey of writing my first book, I was like, so like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I have my book in my hand. And that was just the thing I was waiting for. And then I finished the book and the box arrived in my door with like, I don't know, I think a few hundred copies of my book. And, I had been waiting for this, right? For 3 years. It took me 3 years to write my first book. And I opened the box and I took out my book and I was filled with like self-judgment. Oh, it was so painful. And so, I mean, it took time and thank goodness, I had my wonderful therapist at the time and I did my own inner work, but so much came up for me. I mean, I love that book now, right? I've come to the other side of that. But that was really, and so as I'm writing this second book, as I'm having this conversation with you, I'm remembering like, oh, that was really painful. And I think that was so painful that when I was contemplating writing a second book, I was like, I don't want to go through that again, right? That part of it. So there might be similar stories or that might come up for you. The other thing I want to invite you to be mindful of is do not compare your suffering to other people's suffering. Meaning, do not belittle yours. If you're like, oh, that's hardly anything compared to what they went through, that's not helpful. Suffering is suffering is suffering. The other extreme is also the same, right? It's very easy to get attached to our suffering and feel like, well, no one has suffered like me. I have had the worst suffering ever. And then we kind of attach to that suffering. That's not helpful either. Both of those come from our ego structure. It's very normal. But I just name it here for you to be aware in case that comes up. And don't judge yourself for it, right? Just like, oh, that thing is trying to happen. It's okay. And once we do that, we'll make space for whatever that is. Then, then we're going to invite that beauty way of growth, that beauty way of birthing, that beauty way of creating. And we're going to welcome Mother Mary and any other ascended master that shows up who embodies the beauty way, who's here to mentor you in that, to receive guidance of like, what is it right now that you are birthing or creating, or perhaps are about to start birthing or creating, or perhaps like me, you've been birthing and creating it for years, but you're in the final stages, that your soul, that this ascended master is saying, you are being invited to birth it in the beauty way. In fact, not only are you being invited, actually, that's the only way you're going to be able to birth it. Not because you're being punished, but because you agreed to that. Like, what Mother Mary told me, it isn't like, oh, Mother Mary said I have to birth it in the beauty way. She was just reminding me of a promise I made to myself that I had decided before I came into this earth that I was going to write a book about the priestess path called Priestess Rise Up, and that I wanted it to be encoded with the beauty way. So she was reminding me of my own promise to myself. It wasn't that, oh, Mother Mary said I should do this, so now I'm doing it. No, That's what ascended masters do. They remind us of our own promises to ourselves. It's not about them at all. They're just filled with unconditional love for us. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so thank you for being here. And I know I see Roxana, Destiny, Sharon, anybody else, if you want to share where you're joining us from or your name, I would love to know. And as well, if you're watching the replay, please feel free to share in the comments. I do read them. I know I don't always have time to respond, but please know that I do read them. So I seem to be, I can't quite read that, Destiny, the last word, but okay. So, all right, so let's go ahead and welcome, Summer. I'm so glad you're here from Tampa, Florida. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and step into this ceremonial space. Oh, and thank you. I'm not sure, I don't know if I'll pronounce your name right. Sonjas? I'm not sure if that was right. Probably not, but from Denmark. Thank you so much. I had a client from Denmark, really, Roxana. Thank you, Roxana. Isn't that amazing? Your story is my story. I love that you say that because that's true for all of us, right? That's why it's so important to share our story and like share it from a place of love. I think is one of the biggest gifts we can give humanity, right? It's very different than sharing it from like sometimes people share a story. You can tell, right? When someone shares a story, you're like, ugh, right? It's coming just from a place that hasn't been totally integrated or explored, but your story, not just you, Roxana, but everyone's here, whoever's watching, your story is important. It's your priestess origin story, right? It's the story of how you found your way back to your divine mission. It's the story of all of the initiations you went through, all of the times you suffered, and perhaps you doubted yourself, and maybe you judged yourself, and the courageous journey of coming back. And I'm not saying you're like, oh, I'm healed up. I'm not all healed up. Like, this is an ongoing journey, but there are aspects of your story that are ready to be shared. This is really coming really strongly right now. So all of you listening to this, there are aspects of your story that are gifts to the world. And so Destiny is asking about the left side. Okay, well, when we go in, Destiny, and not just for Destiny, but anyone, whatever energy, I keep praying for this thingy on my lip that's purging some toxin. That's what Mother Mary keeps telling me. You're just purging, you're detoxifying. And it's just part of it is detoxing through my lip. So yes, your left side to Destiny, of course. And anybody, whatever physical ailments anybody has, it's not me that's going to heal it or clear it. It's our collective energy because we're setting the intention for that. So let's go ahead and step into this space. I invite you to close your eyes or focus your vision on something in front of you. And as you take some nice, deep cleansing breaths, bring your awareness inward, bring your awareness to the earth. So all of us, let's focus on our pelvis, our hips, our knees, ankles, and feet. Visualize those roots going deep, deep, deep into the earth. Really anchoring in. So whatever healing comes through today, whatever teaching, whatever downloads, they are anchored into the earth, anchored into your life. And this is for everyone here live and everyone watching the replay. And then breathing in through the bottoms of your feet, that energy of alignment, of flow, of clarity, of beauty. And let that move through your body all the way to the crown of your head. And then we're going to land in our heart. And I invite you to bring the palms of your hands. You can bring the palms of your hands over your heart as I'm doing like this, or just bring your awareness there. And at your heart, this beautiful, beautiful pink rose. This rosebud is opening. And as this rosebud opens, you might be filled with the scent of roses, beautiful roses. And just breathe that in. And even if you can't sense the scent, know that we're calling on the energy of the rose, the beauty of the rose, the ferocity of the rose, the beautiful, pristine boundaries of the rose. And as your own heart opens like a beautiful rose blooming, see a beautiful path radiating out of your heart like a golden ray of light. And in front of you appears this beautiful path. And usually I see it as a golden path, but in this moment, I'm seeing it as a beautiful pink, soft pink path with specks of gold. And you're standing on that path, and there's beautiful rose petals, pink rose petals guiding you on this path. And so you're just going to follow that path with the pink rose petals. And you're following it until you're led to a beautiful garden, a beautiful rose garden, all different color roses, red and pink and white roses and yellow roses. It's a stunning garden of roses. And this garden of roses has been created for you by your own soul and by your ascended master guides. And right now I'm just going to name Mother Mary, but also Kuan Yin, and any other guides that are here for you. These are ascended masters that have no agenda other than to love you unconditionally, to bear witness to you unconditionally, lovingly. And so you step into this garden of roses, and at the center of the garden is this beautiful tree. It's a golden tree. There's the golden color, this golden tree, like a willow tree. And the branches are just cascading over. And it has like this golden energy that's radiating out. And under at the base by the trunk is a beautiful bench. And you're going to walk up to that bench and you're going to sit there with the willow tree behind you, surrounded by these beautiful roses. And your soul is with you. And Mother Mary and Kuan Yin step forward. And any other guides, your guardian angels. And the first question you're bringing forth to your soul is, what chapter of my life? No, let me reword it better. It's coming. What past suffering is coming up right now for healing, for honoring, for sacred witnessing? What past suffering? And know that you are in a safe space. You're surrounded by the roses, by your soul, by Mother Mary, by Kuan Yin. And Kuan Yin has her vessel of compassion. And she's just walking up to you and she's pouring this beautiful light of compassion over you as she chants her mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So whatever past suffering is coming forth, and perhaps you see a memory, perhaps you're just sensing a feeling or a color. I'm seeing that moment when my books arrived, my first set of books. That moment when I held my book and I was so disappointed. I had so much self-judgment and self-criticism. And so that's the moment I'm seeing, even though I've processed it a lot and I'm not in that place anymore. I love my first book, but I'm being shown that moment. And so Mother Mary and Kuan Yin and my soul are pouring this beautiful light on that moment to release any cords I still have to that moment, So I'm just sharing that as an example now for you. So notice what is coming up for you. What part of your story is coming up to be healed in this moment, to be blessed, to be maybe a cord cut if there's still attachment to it. So I'm going to be silent for a few moments as we all go into this experience. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And it's okay if you're not seeing any memory, trust that it's happening, even if you don't have clarity on what it is. Om Mani Padme Hum. And now, just asking the question of Mother Mary, what am I presently being guided to birth in the beauty way? What am I being guided to create, to birth, to do, whatever word resonates, in the beauty way? What does the beauty way mean? It means the opposite of suffering, through love, through self love, through joy, through ease. So, what am I being guided to create, to birth, to do, to make this year in 2023 in the beauty way? And as that happens, Mother Mary, she has a bowl of these beautiful rose petals, and she whispers a blessing in this bowl with these rose petals. And she's just cascading these rose petals over you as you are with that question. Just let that question be in your heart. What am I being guided to birth, to create, to do through the beauty way? And just receive the roses, feel the smell of the roses. Don't worry if you don't hear an answer yet. It is landing in your heart. What am I being guided to birth, to create, to make, to shift, to transform this year in 2023 through the beauty way? And so now together, Mother Mary, she's just pouring roses over you, rose petals, and Kuan Yin, she's just chanting her mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And your soul is integrating all of these blessings across all four levels of your being, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, across all dimensions of time. And just bringing a quick healing of any physical body ailments that anyone is experiencing now or whenever you watch this. And as you stand there, this beautiful garden, this beautiful path dissolves in light. And you step back into your body, you step back into your heart, and you're back in your room or wherever you're watching this from. And you're feeling the earth underneath you. And you're feeling that energy of the roses and of Kuan Yin's mantra of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum. And we bring the palms of our hands together and we bow to each other in our own heart. So we close this ceremonial space with a namaste. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. That was so beautiful. And I want to remind you, these are recorded, so you can go back. But you don't need to, feel free to watch the recording, but you can just also travel there on your own. If you want to share anything in the chat or in the comments, if you're watching the replay, of what came, of anything that past suffering that came that perhaps you were shown, or the other question of, right, what are you birthing, what are you creating through the beauty way? For sure, one of the things for me is what I shared, right, my book. So it makes sense that I was shown that memory, that moment when I was filled with really self-loathing. And so that was so beautiful for me to kind of like, oh, just receive an added healing of anywhere that was still in my energy body. So I'm just going to pull a card for the group and remind you, I'm here every Wednesday. There is one coming up where I'm going to do it on a Monday instead of a Wednesday because I'm traveling. Not next week, it's still Wednesday, but I think the last week of this month, it'll be on a Monday because I'm going to be out of town on Wednesday. So also in the description, I will put a link. If you're not receiving my mailing list, was said wrong. If you're not receiving my newsletter, if you're not on my mailing list, what? Okay, a card literally just flew out of my hand. I'm gonna get it. Sign up, because that is the best way to stay up to date with all the upcoming events I'm having. I do have an in-person retreat for those of you who are around the Chicago area. That's coming. It's not till May, but people have been asking, so I'm already telling everyone. And I have a big relocation coming soon. I think I'll be able to share more details after next week. So anyway, I say that because if you are near Chicago and you want to do something in person with me, that might be the last chance for a long time, or maybe ever, because maybe I won't be doing any more in Chicago because we're going to be relocating. So, and what is the other thing? And, I do offer that 1-year mentoring program if you're interested. Okay, I'm going to get the card. So hold on a second because that flew out of my hand. All right, so let's see what card. This has gone over quite some time, but all right. Ooh, Stargate of Lyra. Expand your causal chakra. Enter the unicorn kingdom. Look at this beautiful unicorn. This is a unicorn deck. And see how she's on that rainbow, and look at that download of light. So I feel like this is asking us, right, reminding us to tune into that energy. Unicorns bring so much beautiful, just like high frequency energy. So that feels really important. And that's number 40. So I'm just going to do one more and then we're going to close. So let's see, because this, and remember to, beautiful, number 28, pool of Christ light. Open your heart, spread unconditional love. Okay, this is like the priestess card, I'm officially saying. Again, open your heart, spread unconditional love. Look at that. So beautiful. So that's a wonderful way to end today. Open your heart, spread unconditional love. I don't have time today, Destiny, maybe next time. And so I love you all, sending you so many prayers, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Please like this video. Tell people if you feel there's someone in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, this would totally resonate with them. Send them over, because the more of us that gather together, the more of us priestesses that rise up and remember our truth and our mission, the sooner, the greater the momentum that's created for our beautiful planet. Thank you, Summer. Catherine. Oh, Catherine, you were here as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.